Welcome to the turn of the 16th and 17th century. In this era, Europe embraced new scientific ideas. Learned astronomers shifted from gazing at the heavens with the naked eye to using the first telescopes. Join them in their awe-inspiring astronomical observations. However, you must exercise caution. The Church remains vigilant. Heretical ideas shall be severely punished. Also in this episode, the sharp peaks of the Yunnan mountains have started to turn green with a peculiar plant. Whispers speak of its miraculous properties capable of healing the body and invigorating the soul. It is no wonder that its cultivation is spreading like wildfire to other provinces. Answering the emperor's call, master cultivators converge to establish a population of this marvelous plant in the valleys of the Yangtze River. And a special reward awaits the most able of them all, the promise of fertile lands in the coveted province of Yunnan. Take up the challenge and try to extend the expansion of the extraordinary beverage across Greater China and beyond. Today on the board, boys,
Galileo Galilei and Tea Garden.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Board Voice Podcast, Season 17, Episode 4. Divide that by 2. That's how many main reviews we have for you today. This is your board boy, staring out into space, Rob.
This is your boy, Tea in Space, TK.
This is your board boy, unsweetened tea, Jake.
And you've got your guest, I love tea, Jared.
Excellent. Well, we got a little bit different format for you today. We couldn't decide which of these Tomáš Holek games to play because we've already covered his other one, SETI. So we're just going to cover both of them.
So we got to think about the lore of how the two games went in the order that we're going to talk about them. So clearly, in this case, this is not in China for tea. We're doing it on a distant planet. So we're up in space, have found a new planet, planted tea there. If we would have done it the other way, we could say that tea fueled the rise in space exploration.
That's true. What if you could fuel your rocket ship with tea?
I think we need to grow a lot more tea.
That's a rocket I would ride on.
You want to ride the tea rocket?
I do want to ride the tea rocket, yes.
It sounds like drugs. It just sounds like drugs, like the tea rocket.
Kind of like
everything
Puff,
kind of sound like
Yeah.
that?
like Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have ride the tea rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are live tonight from Dungeons Gate here in wonderful Ankeny, Iowa, and it is feeling much like fall outside, and it's August. I like it.
It is like 400 degrees in this room, though.
It is warm in here, but it's nice outside.
I'm actually doing okay, and I'm usually
But
like...
You're the source of the hot air.
Well, that's
Yeah.
true. So I'm blowing it out towards
Yes,
everyone
us,
else.
yes,
Yeah.
But I'm on this side then.
So tonight we are skipping our usual yada yada what we've been playing because we've got a couple of big old reviews for you. Let's go ahead and start with the order that they kind of released in the US. These both came out at Essen last year, but Galileo Galilei we got, I don't know, I think I got my copy from...
May, was it?
Yeah, from that convention in St. Louis, Geekway to the West. A buddy of mine brought it back for me. And that's kind of when it hit like stores a little bit after that as well. Galileo Galilei is from 2024. It is currently ranked 1,543rd overall. It is 7.6. It says, discover what Galileo himself didn't. Find new planets and star systems. So did Galileo just not actually find anything in the sky?
No, he was just forced to rescind by the Catholic Church, and he did rescind to not be excommunicated.
Oh, so he did find stuff,
Yes.
but he wasn't able to deal with his church buddies in the basement.
Yes. Well, he basically let them run amok on the left side of the dungeon.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
I'm glad we got a history teacher here to help us out. Well, ex-history teacher. It is designed by Tomáš Holek. The artist is Mikkel Pickle, and the publisher is Pink Troubadour or Capstone Games here in the United States. Tim, why don't you give us the rundown on what you do in Galileo Galilei?
Yeah. So on your turn, you are going to move your telescope on your player board up to 3 spaces, and that will give you an action. And then right below it, it's going to be a bonus action. And you're going to do, I think there's 5 different actions you can do. You are going to observe, which is you can look at large like planets and things. And then there's minor observations. You can put a comment out, which is basically going to help you observe. You can you can upgrade a bonus tile,
Yep.
right?
There's
Yep.
a university increase or gain a die.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and then those are basically the 3
Those are the big
actions. And then everything else is like either getting dice, which is what you use to observe,
Yep.
moving up the university track, which kind of used to score endgame
Yep.
scoring, or moving your book, which is a kind of a bit of a bonus action, which will let you like there's like a track of 4 books across the top. You move them all like, in one action all the way to the right. Otherwise a step, and that gets you little nuggets, I guess, of extra dice, extra, I don't know, nuggets. Yeah, what are the accents or whatever they are? The sextants, yes. And then you get to get Inquisitors or move your Inquisitors is kind of another little bonus
Them
action
Inquisitors.
here. Inquisitors are tough. So really, yeah, you're doing 3 things, and you're basically trying to run out a deck of cards by doing those things. There's some in-round, bonuses that you're trying to, I guess, race to. First person gets 7 points, everybody else gets 3. And then otherwise, score a bunch of points in the end. That's it.
Basically observe stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's observe actions and everything else supports that.
All right, well, let's get to the table and come back with our thoughts on Galileo Galilei.
I didn't realize there were so little actions in that game. You're basically observing or getting stuff.
Everything else is like dice manipulation stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we are back. Initial thoughts here on Galileo Galilei. I'll go first. I saw this one at BGG Con, I think, and I was like, that's really beige, and I didn't really look at it. So, and I didn't quite know that this was the same designer as SETI. Like, I was all in on checking out SETI, but I kind of slept on Galileo Animal Tea Garden, to be honest. So,
Were they both at Gen Con, right? Were they there?
They were both for sale at Gen Con this year.
Oh,
yeah.
Last year?
Last year, no.
Okay.
They came out in Essen, which is coming up here in the fall.
Right.
So they were at the BGG Con, like the Hot Games area room.
Okay. But you were beige and you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, I just was like, eh. But then I like SETI so much, I'm like, I got to check this one out.
Yeah, and so I guess I found out about this game from liking SETI so much that he was having another game. So I was pretty pumped to try it, and it looked lower weight, so like not quite as long as SETI, which is one of, I guess, all of our complaints. So I was pretty excited for this game.
I just saw that it was coming, didn't necessarily know a ton about it, other than, again, that the designer is the same as SETI. I guess when I was first getting ready to play it, first impressions-wise, it was, I mean, it's pretty to look at. The board is very, there's a lot of bright colors for the different, planets and other, entities in space that you're looking at. And I thought there was a couple mechanisms that seemed kind of weird upon first explanation, so I just didn't do them. But then I realized this time that they actually weren't that complicated. But that was my first impression.
Rob brings games, and I play those games. I like to play anything that's new, and when this hit the board, there's a lot of cool mechanics, and there's a lot of different things you can do, and I got to play Haley as my first one, and playing with his Comet was super fun.
All right, well, let's get into pros, which I originally wasn't going to give this a pro, but I will say that I think the player powers are a pro. They're not like crazy super powerful or different. Like usually, like in a Marco Polo or like, I love it when it's like, man, these all feel really broken. And this one, they also kind of feel like, yeah, I play the game a little bit differently than you do. So it's still nice that they're there and they're an option. You also could just flat out not play with them. I also really like the action selection. I'm going to call it a rondel. It's like the telescope thing is like a weird rondel because you can only go 1 to 3 steps, so you can never take the same action twice. And those little tokens slide and they never match up again with the same like board printed action. I mean, at least for a while, because they're going to reset to the bottom and go back up to the top. And then you can upgrade all those too. So I don't know how much time you guys spend trying to figure out and like line those things up, or you just kind of roll with it. I tend to just roll with it. But once again, I'm not really great at this game.
This time I laid out what I wanted my first couple turns to be, but then I just filled the rest in.
Yeah.
I think that just while we're on this subject, I know we're going a little bit out of order. Well, I do think that that's a fun selection in the fact that, it's kind of Windmill Valley-esque in that you're doing 2 different things and they rotate around, but it is a huge problem how easy it is to forget to move your tile after you use it. Because there's not super clear reminders, but it doesn't also inherently just make sense that that's something that you should do, whereas a rondo, you're just clearly, moving to the next spot. And so the way that this works, that's something that I'm sure there were times I didn't even move it. And there are other times I'm like, oh yeah, later and did it.
I will say that it's hard to remember, but everything you do on your turn is in order on your player board. Like the iconography is all there, which is nice. But there's multiple times where it's like, oh, it's my turn again. Oh yeah, I forgot to move my thing. That
Yeah, and it's
happens
not
frequently.
it's just the bonuses that you're moving, so you won't ever really like the rondel part of the actions. You won't take one of those twice unless you like bump your board, right? It's just remembering to move a bonus around so that they line up differently.
So, and I guess part of it is just it's a cool aesthetic that you're moving the telescope up, and that's how you're doing your different actions. But just because of the way that works, I think it leads to you forgetting that. So it's positive and negative.
Well, I like how it then also makes it so you can't like kind of spam the same thing over and over again, because it drops it down to the bottom 2 zone where those 2 tiles you can't move your telescope back into. So it makes you have to use the different tiles. And I feel like maybe part of my issue is I don't run through that rondel fast enough. I don't know how fast you guys run through that thing, but I don't know if it's similar to like a Great Western Trail type thing where like, because you're racing for some things on the board and hitting the same main action on the rondel thing might be good.
You can pretty much always do it every other turn, can't you?
I know, but like a lot of times I'm just like, well, I'm going to do the next one, and then maybe I'll skip one, and then I'll do the next one, and then the real big one is if you actually stop at the end to upgrade a tile, because nothing moves if you do that spot, because the upgrade is tied to just getting like the triangle.
I feel like in the beginning of the game, I tend to go space by space and try to do everything. And then after like the second time doing that, I just start going, no, this is what I want. And this is what I want. And I use that first couple rounds as a time to kind of figure out what I want to do during the course of the game, what I'm trying to accomplish.
I enjoy all of the different ways that you can adjust what your turn is going to do. So whether that's using the sextants that you acquire, and there's a 2, 3, and 4 threshold that you can utilize those for. There are, comments. The entire utility of them is that they add value to what you're doing. And unlike most games where you set something up to do a bonus and then it's gone, it actually gets better upon the second use, and then it slots into something to give you another value, which can, kind of adjust how you do things later too. So I think there's a lot of fun ways that you're able to manipulate your action to work into the things that you want to do. So one of the things that I've mentioned before that I really enjoy about games is where it makes you feel smart, that you are able to piece together the steps to make that happen. And it gives you a lot of opportunities to feel smart when you're able to make that happen. So I think that's a really big positive about this game.
Cam would say the wobble is very high in this game.
Yeah.
You can almost do whatever you want. It's almost like you can almost figure out a way to do whatever you want at just about any time. Like with adding numbers to your dice, the sextants really make that very high.
And then the books, the book tracks too, which I think that's another thing that's really interesting about this. There's a lot of games that have tracks that you move on, but you literally build your track. And so when you are determining whether you're going to make, major observations or minor observations, one of the things that you can see on the front of that card is what icons you're going to get for your book tracks. And so you can kind of lay out where you are, and there's an incentive to move further on those tracks. And, there's a lot of things that move you a whole lot of spaces. So there's just, again, it's a unique thing that gives you some wobble, but also, again, that you get to build it and make it yourself, which is kind of neat.
I do like so on the book track, you can either get like a number on the book, which lets you just move a book that number of spaces, or the flag lets you move your book all the way to the right. I think that like really helps you move that along, like all of your stuff along. And it can, if you time it right, it can get you a bunch of stuff. I think that's a cool addition instead of just having them all be numbers.
I completely agree. And I think that another thing I want to add on top of that is there actually is some tension in that too, because if you aren't in a position that you want to take on Inquisitors, it can stop all your momentum because you don't want to gain them.
Right.
And so, there's it's not all positives. There's negative that you have to work around. And so even if you're not going heavy on that track to get different things, you need to be cognizant of what you're putting out there to potentially avoid those things.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the Inquisitors for a second, because
I think they're a pro.
I've wavered back and forth on them, and I'm landing on pro at this point, especially after watching everyone kind of play with them. Like tonight, I feel like everyone handled them probably the best I've ever seen. But basically, the Inquisitors are out there all over the place, and they basically, are like, why are you looking at the stars so closely? And then coming to shame you and tell you to stop talking to people about it.
It seems like the ones that are worth more points give you Inquisitors, and the ones that are worth less points don't give you Inquisitors.
Yeah, in general. And then the thing is, then they go into your little basement track thing, and they're worth -8 points if you never do anything with them. So you got to move them 4 rooms to the right where they're worth a point. The problem is every time you move them, you have to add up the total number of, I don't know, heretic points, I'm going to call them, on there. On the far right, it's +1, but everyone then it's like -4, -3, -2, -1 or something.
I think it's +1, -1, -2, -4.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you basically sum up all of the Inquisitors you have between all those rooms, and whatever that net is, you move on this track on the main board, and that's going to give you positive or negative points at the end of the game. So I think it's cool because you can completely ignore them. Like Jake just decided he was never going to do anything that gave him an Inquisitor the first time he played.
And I was competitive. I think that's important to mention with that.
And or you could play like me and not realize you're going to be taking them and be like, oh crap, another one. And then end up with like 4 or 5 of them and then have to spend half the game trying to figure out how to move them. Because the problem is every time one moves, you have to sum that up and move and adjust the main board. And
it's every time you move them at the end of your turn, you do that.
Correct.
Yeah. So,
but like if you have 4 of them on your board and they're all to the left, that's -16, and you get, and then you like stumble upon getting one movement of one guy, that's now -14, and that's bad.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that if you're gonna move them, you need to move them in bulk, or not get a bunch of them at once and move them slowly across time. So some people might like that. Some people might not. I think it's an interesting wrinkle into the game. Half the games of this I've played, I feel like I've gotten stuck and mishmashed, and like I've got to spend half my game fixing what I did by taking so many. And the other half, I'm like, oh, this is okay. And I've managed them correctly. So it's just something to be aware of.
I just feel like this game would be really boring if that management of this wasn't there. It would just basically be like, get stuff, and there's no no negative to it. Yeah.
It would rely on that arc of get stuff, spend it, stuff, spend it. That's what it'd be. So I have really mixed feelings about the Inquisitors, to be honest. I think that it's a super unique mechanism that I don't think I've seen anywhere else. So that makes me think positively of it. There's just not a whole lot of things where you're moving and mitigating things. I think there is some weirdness with when you get them over the course of the turn. And I guess if the rules are clear that you just assess at the end, then maybe that makes it a little bit better.
You assess.
You do.
Yeah. Everything happens at the end.
That probably, that fixes that to some extent. But I also feel like it's just kind of disconnected from the game. And there's also not any other bonuses that you just can't benefit from, like the movement if you don't have somebody to be able to move. So,
but like if you don't have dice to bump, you can't benefit from it. If you don't there's all kinds of stuff that you don't benefit.
Sure, but I guess you're right. You're right. I take that back. That those instances do exist as well.
Yeah, I ran into that multiple
Like if you
times.
can't move your book, you don't get it. Like,
I guess my point more falls into the fact that you always can get a die when you see the advantage of like a red die coming up. There are only so many things you can do to get Inquisitors, and there's times where you can just be locked out of it and maybe not want to move a book because you're going to waste some movement options. And maybe that doesn't matter. That is a little out of your control sometimes, which probably only matters if everybody is doing it. And then maybe you should just be zigging and doing something else anyways. But,
well, the other side of that is everything you do is going to give you an Inquisitor and you don't want one. So I've been on both sides of those spectrums and then, sometimes it's somewhere in the middle, but it's just what's available to you at the time. And I guess that to talk a little bit about the replayability, like all of the end game scoring things are random. You randomly flip up 4 of those, and then the tracks are random and they're double-sided for those end game scoring. And then the 2 you don't use for end game scoring are 2 that you use to race, like objective race during the game. So that's kind of a cool mix. You also don't play with all the cards, even with 4 players. So that's going to be a mix. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think those are the big ones.
Player powers.
Other than the player power, sure.
I mean, I do want to add, though, that I think that because it's unique, that lends itself to being something that you think about later and would maybe pull you back to this. So I think that it helps in the fact that it has a mechanism that's not frequently seen. I think that helps potentially draw people to want to play this again in the future.
I think the rule book is really good for this one. All the materials are really good. And the game is fairly easy. Like, it's a middleweight Euro with a middleweight time. So, I mean, that is a big pro. Like, 4-player games of this can be taught and played in about an hour.
If you have the right people.
It's true, but like, different groups that I've not even been in, this has been a fairly quick game. I haven't heard, oh no, I just spent 4 hours playing Galileo. Like you heard, oh no, I played 4 hours of SETI, right?
I mean, we've played a close to 4-hour game of SETI. So,
true.
Like, and we played this game in less than an hour.
Under an hour. It was like 58 minutes by the time we were done.
Yeah,
So,
we played both games tonight in the time that takes us to play like one heavy Euro game for the podcast. We basically played both games in 2 hours. And that was with setup and teardown. How often is it that we all have played a game before? We played 2 games in a row tonight that we'd all played before.
not
Very rare.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
Kind of feels good.
Yeah. Maybe we should.
Nobody had to teach anybody anything. We just played board games.
Everybody stop buying new games.
You all had to teach me the Inquisitors because I deliberately didn't listen the first time.
That's fine, but still.
What other pros? Jared?
I would say that this game feels I like the intentionality of the Inquisitors, of the like end game, of the tech tracks. I think all of those kind of give you something to go after. I feel like if you didn't have those elements in the game, it would feel a little bit scattered. Like I'm just gaining stuff and buying things and gaining stuff and buying things. Those things give you a certain level of like intentionality for this game.
Like weaving in the university tracks and the book tracks
Yeah,
into
yeah.
like just
They give you
the
a
rhythm
focus.
of buying
They
stuff.
say, hey, do these things. These things are going to be worth more in this game than they were in maybe other games of this.
Yeah, so like this game, Inquisitors are worth 4 points apiece if you get to the top of the track, where sometimes they're worth 2 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys get to the top of more than one of those tracks.
I topped out all 4 of them in one of my games.
That's wild.
The book track does it. If you get the right
books.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing. Like, there's this game can be layered as deep kind of as you want, because it's almost as important to go after a book because of the extra icons on its spine for moving the books as it is for just the points for the book, right? And I almost always forget to look at that. And that's how I end up with a bajillion Inquisitors sometimes, because they all will end up with like the plus Inquisitor on the spine. So I think that's kind of neat too. Like you have to decide, do I want the card? Do I want to just do like the little observations on the card to score the points?
Do I have the dice that match? I like the dice color matching too. I think that's good.
Yeah, working on that also.
So the minor observations are a single dice color. So and you can combine as many dice as you want as long as they're the right colors. And then the major observations, you have to combine 2 colors. You have to have at least 1 pip of a different color. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and they do have a section for colorblind help in the back of here.
Looks like there's a dot on different sides.
Yeah, there's dots on different sides, because I could see this being like a real hard game for colorblind people. But as long as they've got that, hopefully that would help.
And the colors are not close, really, in their spectrum. So they're at least different enough.
They're the 3 primary.
Yeah.
On the upgrades, does it have the dots on them still to know?
It does.
That's good.
Yeah, so red is the dot on the left, yellow is dot on the right, and blue is dot on the bottom.
I'm glad they incorporated that.
So you can tell from that. Speaking of that too, like the iconography is fantastic. Like the game is fairly intuitive, and everywhere on the boards and the player aids and the main board kind of explain and remind you of everything. There's like, it's hard to forget besides maybe moving your tile.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of hard to forget what to do in this game because everything is very well laid out.
I agree. The iconography is great.
I would say that another pro that I have is like when you do an action in the game, you get to do a lot of things. If you like taking lots of game actions or like to do a lot of things on your turn, this is a really good game for you.
Yeah. Yeah, because the sextants let you get a bunch of extra stuff. And
yeah,
you get a bonus every time you take an action.
Oh, yeah, I didn't talk about those. The bonus actions with the sextants are cool, and I'd always had been focused on using those for just moving people, for moving the Inquisitors, because I would end up with a lot of them, and I've got to push them through. Today, I managed my Inquisitors better, so I had a bunch of them to use for get an extra dice. Oh no, I'm 1 short of that. I can bump a dice by 1. Like, those bonus actions are cool, and the reminder for that's also on your player board of what you can use them with.
Yeah, today was the first time I ever changed the color of my dice.
Yeah,
I did that today too.
Yeah, and you change, like, if you were able to bump one up to a 4, that's especially good if you want to pivot to a different dice that's out there or a different card, because all of a sudden you might be like, oh no, I can't get any of these cards. But if I just, and it's cheap too, right? It's one token to switch it, and that will almost always let you then take a different card. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Like the reasoning for that. That's great.
Yeah, for me it was the minor. Like everybody was taking the minor observations, so swapping over to one of those to kind of get it. That's why I swapped colors today. So
yeah. Want to get some cons?
Sure. We talked about the not moving your tile.
It's really hard to remember that.
I hate
okay. This is like my fourth play of this game. I would say right now I am like move the tile every time, and if it feels like it's a little bit like ingrained now.
I am too.
I forgot so many times today.
I also forgot so
I
many
never
times.
forgot past my next turn. There was a couple times where I'm like, oh, yep, I had to move it, because I was like, that's what I did last time. But my big thing is, and I know it's just to help the timer for the game, but like the minor ones that like just make you take cards off the top of the deck, the game clock on this can be real screwy.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends way sooner than you think it's going to end. Or way sooner than you, like, especially if people are focused, like you can focus fire the game and end it really quick. Tonight, we actually piddled around and everybody kind of did some extra stuff. And I prefer that. Like, I feel like we still played it like in an hour.
Right.
That felt more fun to me. I've played some games of this, and one of them was the last one I played where I was Galileo, and I could slam out those minor ones, and every other minor one makes you take a card off the top of the deck, which is wild.
Yep.
Which I guess makes sense because you can do two of those or you're taking one card from the row. So it's just to help keep the game going. But I always forget that. And all of a sudden you're like, I just see people starting to take cards off the top of the deck. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
game's going to end.
I didn't even realize we were ending the game.
Yeah, but you ended it.
When I ended it.
Yeah. So I don't know how I get it.
I tend to not love games that the timer is based on when you've made it through a certain amount of cards.
Yeah.
Just because the experience can be so different
And I
depending
think
on who you're playing
the
with.
game loop for this is so fun. I always feel like I never play this game long enough. And
But that's what you want.
I know, but like I want a little more.
Like if this game went much longer tonight, I wouldn't have had anything to do. Like I got to the point where I was like, I've hit the tops of my tracks.
Yeah.
I've made it to the edge of my thing. So if you get to a position where everybody is just kind of not doing the things that drive the game on, it definitely could bleed into this game lasted way longer than I
three
wanted
of you
to.
had higher scores than I had logged in my score track ever so far. So, and I scored my highest score tonight as well. So we definitely did more things, but I still I don't know. I got to figure out how to do better at this game because I feel like I'm not grokking something with it, but I want to figure it out. So that's a pro for me.
I know that you had mentioned you haven't heard horror stories about the game being really long, but if you are somebody who really needs to evaluate each option on your turn, that could be a lot of toying around with what you're going to do. So, hey, this plus this lets me do this. Well, what about this one? Is this plus? You just my philosophy is typically I've kind of planned out the steps I want to take and I just choose one and run with it. But if you need to evaluate each option because there are five different options you can always pick with 5 different bonuses like that. If you're not somebody who's thinking about your turn,
you can only move it 3 spaces.
That's true. So you do have the 3 options, but I do think that you could get lost in the weeds a little bit.
You could
if that happens. And also, again, I think this is a pro, but not everybody feels the same way because there are so many different things you can end up doing on your turn. It can also be easy to get lost in have I done this? Have I gotten this? And so that is something that runs the potential with. Again, that's a pro for me, but I know that's not a pro for everybody.
I would agree.
Yeah, I don't really have any cons for this.
And I think it's easier if when you teach the game, especially if somebody maybe isn't used to something like this, following that flow chart at the bottom of your player or your player screen is really good because it does matter when you evaluate the guys. And I know tonight I do it in the right order, but I might not do it in the right order. It makes that makes sense. It all happens, but it kind of flows together.
Well, and part of the wobble here is that your bonus things you can do them in any order you want, right? So you can combo university move into something else that will help you then observe, right? Or something.
Yeah, you just have to know that if you moved a guy, you got to pay the piper at the end of the round. or at the end of your turn.
Yeah.
So
And if you used a 2 comet, you got to put it on a thing before you pay the piper.
also true, which might be a thing to help you move. Oh yeah, I guess we didn't. I really like the comets. I feel like those really help you achieve things faster, I guess. I don't know, it's a fun little mechanism to flip it to the top and then flip it down to the bottom. And then once you've used it twice, you get to do a cool thing with it. And then some of the player boards have their own special comet slots, which is also neat.
Other cons.
I think the only con I have is that everything in the game feels very spread out, and it's really hard to kind of keep track of everything all at once.
Because the board, physically?
Yeah, the board is just physically very large, and everything that you might want to do on a turn is all kind of spread out on that board. And so sometimes it's hard to be like, okay, I've got my little personal player board over here with the sextants and with the dice that I'm manipulating, and then way over there is the comets, and way over here is the tracks and everything. It can be hard to kind of keep track of all of that all at once.
Because the board is not a normal regular sized.
It's a lot longer.
It's very long and not very tall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah,
that'd be my only con. Is just sometimes it's hard to keep all of that kind of.
At least, I mean,
in
and
your brain
I agree.
And
I think
about all the things.
The one benefit to this game is that it doesn't have the long, skinny board and then also a whole row of cards at the end of it that you have to be really close to see.
Absolutely.
The cards are on the board and pretty big for the things because the identifier. So at least it has that going for it.
Yeah, I mean, and the cards you can see, they're just colors, and there's not writing on them like Sabika or something where you have to read tiny little
read the cursive writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all fairly easily recognizable from across the table. All right, well, let's hit the final thoughts here for Galileo Galilei. Here on the Board Boys podcast, we have a 3 Boeing rating scale, 0 being the worst, 3 being the best. One time you can give your 4 Boeing game. Half Boeings are allowed. I think a 0 Boeing game of Galileo Galilei it was all cloudy and you didn't see shit.
And you have a lot of Inquisitors on the left side of your dungeon.
Yeah, and they're really mad that you didn't see anything. Or they're probably
think they'd
happy.
be happy about that, actually.
They would be happy.
And I think the 3 Boeing is you found SETI aliens, probably.
Yeah.
Hanging out there. Probably on that meteor, the Urumamu or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You find the meteor. It's got aliens on it. They're having a party. They come down. They give you a bigger telescope so you can find more stuff. 4 points.
Nailed it. All right. Well, Jared, why don't you go first?
Sure. I think I'd give this game 2 Boeings. I think it's really solid. I think there are a lot of interesting and fun mechanics to it. I think the only downsides are sometimes you can get a little lost in all the things you can do on your turn and miss some things. But overall, if you like to take a lot of game actions, you like to do fun things, this is a game for you.
I can go next. I think I'm really waffling between 2, but I think I'm just going to... This game has a lot of mechanisms that I really enjoy. I think if the Inquisitors were not in this game, it would definitely be quite a bit lower for me. But I do think that it just adds something unique and something extra. And the tension that you sometimes feel about when those things happen is a good feeling. So I think I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 2.5 too. It's not, I don't know. It doesn't have it's not weighty. It's very light. And it's I feel like it could end up being the same playing it 5, 10, 15 times. But if you want something light, I think it's good. That's what's keeping me from giving it a 3, is that it just doesn't have it's not super deep. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't scratch and itch really nicely. So I'm going to say 2.5.
I feel similarly. I think it's a 2 for me. I think if I owned 6 games and I played this all the time, I'd get tired of it probably. But since I don't play the same game a bajillion times, this is a good one for the collection. I think it's going to stick around, and it fills that really awesome, oh, do you want to play a really cool game in 45 minutes? Then bust it out.
I didn't really talk about it, but my wife likes this game. She does not like heavy games. So if you have someone that doesn't like heavy games but wants to get into a little bit of a light or heavier than Ticket to Ride or something, I think this is a good next step. It's very easy to teach. We just did the actions. Move your thing one space and go. Yeah. So that's the kind of game she likes. So she likes Windmill Valley and that kind of stuff. Just, all right, go to the next one and do it, and off you go. So I really like that.
Yeah, it kind of gives me the same feeling as Rajas of the Ganges a little bit.
Okay.
Just purely because you're using dice to do actions and things, and like you're growing the dice, and I don't know, it makes me want to play Rajas.
Pro for Jared. I didn't have to roll any dice.
Yeah, there you go. Dice
You
without
do
rolling.
roll 0 dice in this game. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into our second game tonight. It is Tea Garden. It also came out in 2024. It is currently ranked 2,708 overall. It is 7.5 on Board Game Geek. Witnessed the birth of tea culture in ancient China. 2 to 4 players, best at 3, 90 to 120 minutes, ages 12 plus. The weight is 3.0 out of 5. I don't think I mentioned the weight on the last one. It was 3.01 out of 5. I might have missed that. So they are very similar, according to BGG anyway. Same designer, Tomáš Holek. The artist, I'm sorry, Barbora Serp Zizkova. That middle name doesn't have any vowels in it. It's SRP. And the publisher is Albi and also Capstone Games in the US.
So Capstone did both of these US ones.
They did. They love bringing the good Euros over and putting them out. Them and DeVere seem to be doing that with a lot of the stuff, or pick up a lot of the things that come out in Europe and then only in Europe, because those companies are smaller and don't have like
Global distribution.
Them words, yes. Jake, would you like to talk about Tea Garden?
Sure.
Yes?
Thematically, I might struggle a little bit, but I'll do my best. So basically, it has a map of China. You are taking, there's 5 rounds? 5 rounds?
Mm-hmm.
5 rounds. You deal out 4 cards from an initial deck of 11 cards, and basically you are going to look at the total power of your action, which is measured in the top left corner. So all your cards you start with are going to be a 1 or a 2, but you can potentially gain cards that improve that. There are 4 slots underneath of your board that you're going to play a combination of cards or just one, but basically you will splay them to where you have 1 on the top and all the other things behind it. You add up the power, and then you take a main action, and then if there is a minor action that is on the middle of the card, whatever one is on the top, you will take that as well. So basically, your minor actions are moving down a river, studying at a university, or selling to... Nope, that's a main action. Is it just the 2 of those? Oh, the pots. You collect the different pots of tea, and then you can connect those color-wise for points and for bonuses. On your main point, which is what you're spending that power on, you're either selling your tea to a market, you are buying new cards that you also spend your tea on, you are expanding where you are able to produce tea at, and is there one more? You can make tea, and you can ferment tea.
Yep.
Those are the things you could do. So you do that 5 different times, and so it's effectively a deck builder. There's a lot of culling that you can potentially remove stuff from, and then there are some endgame scoring that come out with benefits you get from moving up some of the different secondary actions. But that is more or less what we do in Tea Garden. Let's get it to the table and see how it goes.
All right, we are back. Tim, you like tea?
I do like tea. Peppermint tea. I mostly just like peppermint tea.
Okay.
Yeah. Very specific.
I like all kinds of tea.
I like sleepy time tea.
Yeah.
I don't like hot beverages, so I only like cold tea. But
Interesting.
I do like cold tea a whole lot. I drink tea every day.
I don't drink coffee.
I also drink coffee.
I like hot chocolate for hot drink or tea.
There's only one hot drink I like.
Only if it's like really cold outside and you're like at a sporting event and you can't feel your hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get a hot chocolate.
I do.
Yeah.
Not a coffee. Like my parents never drank coffee when I was a kid. So like I wasn't into it and I just don't like the taste.
I like the smell of coffee, but I've never really, the hot, I know there's iced coffee, but I've never made that step over. The one hot beverage I enjoy, and don't judge me, but really hot Gatorade is strangely satisfying.
Is there a specific flavor?
I think I've only had lemon lime. One time I just was at baseball practice and I left it in my car and forgot it there, and I was really thirsty, so I drank it, and it just like burned the right way all the way down. So I haven't tried it again since, but
That sounds terrible.
recommend it.
I'm not going to fight you on that. There's like, especially when you're like if I've been out somewhere doing something and I took a Gatorade and it ended up getting warm, I'm drinking the thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you're so thirsty, you just think it tastes good.
I remember like specifically multiple times in my life where I took a drink of hot Gatorade, I spit it out and threw the thing away. Like I can distinctly remember the disgusting taste in my mouth.
It's an acquired
Yeah,
taste.
yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm not gonna like.
I've only done it one
you-
time.
As
How about
many
this?
hot beverages are.
If I find hot Gatorade like lying around, I'll just give it to you.
Please do.
Yeah.
Keep it for
Please
Jake.
do.
Just dump it all in a giant cup.
Yeah, just
And then you can
all
drink
the
it like a
flavors, yeah.
suicide
Yeah.
hot Gatorade. That'd be awesome.
that would be weird.
All right. Initial thoughts on Tea Garden specifically.
For me, again, the designer said it looked interesting. I like the card mechanic. It was kind of the first thing that popped up where you can play multiple cards to raise your power. So I was really excited to kind of play this game. And again, call it middleweight Euro, I think is always interesting to me.
I can go next. I think that I had a harder time grokking a couple things about this the first time I played it. I guess maybe just in the ways that it's different from other games, but there were a few things that I feel like it was a couple rounds in before I really had understood the way you do things. And I'll talk about that when we get to pros and cons specifically. I think I was left feeling kind of meh after the first time, and I will let you know how that changed later.
Wow. For me, I find that I'm really bad at this game, but I really enjoy it anyway. I think the mechanics of it are super interesting. There's something that's not quite clicking for me, and like how you play it to do well. I think
it's scoring points.
I keep getting laughed every time that I play this game. So doing something wrong, but
Scoring points.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
I'm not scoring enough points.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the thing.
Yeah, you are not scoring points yet.
That's the problem.
I went in completely blind to this game. I knew nothing about it except the designer. And I just picked it up at Gen Con. Just based on the pedigree alone, I liked his other two games and figured we'd give this one a shot. And the first time I played it, I was confused a little bit. I had fun the first time and did fairly well. And then the second time I played it, I feel like I unlocked the Matrix somehow and just found like the extra level to the game kind of.
You were still there today.
I see the Matrix with Tea Garden and I do not see with Galileo for some reason. So starting with pros, I really like the action selection type thing. So on your turn you do one thing and you can have 4 turns. So you can take a maximum of 20 turns per game. If you had 3 tea to do that in the first round, you're baller.
Yeah.
I've never seen that, but
And enough cards.
And also, your cards are trash that first round anyways.
so the second time I played it, I think I did 4 actions 4 out of the 5 rounds. And tonight, I think I did them 3 out of the 5 rounds. So you have to pay to do that 4th action, which you pay the tea leaves, which I think the tea leaves are also cool because if you ferment them, they're better in quotation marks because they upgrade at the end of the round, whereas your green fresh ones degrade, which is kind of cool. But having to decide how to stack your cards to make them more powerful and then do the cool secondary action, bonus action you want to do on top is really interesting. Or if you want to put the teapots on top so you have the teapots to buy more cards. This game is a weird mishmash of what mini game do you want to play? And I think you can play any of the mini games and be successful. And I think you can do them all a little bit or do one of them a lot and still do okay.
So I want to add on to that a little bit. I think that the thing that is maybe more unique about this in that is there is the mini game that is the secondary action that you can choose which way you want to go. But there's also the main actions of how you can go different ways. So it does open up a lot of combinations of I'm going to go heavy into the boat track and in selling to the markets. Like there's a lot of crossover in how you can do that, which should theoretically open up, different ways that you can approach this game in subsequent plays.
And just to reiterate, like on the cards, there is no main action. So you just put it down and you do a main action with the power. Like a lot of games where you have cards to do actions, like you have a set of cards, so you're going to do one of each action every turn. This is not, you can do the same action 3 times in a row on your turn or your whole round. I think that's really cool.
That was one of the things that was hard for me to grok right off the bat, because again, most of the time when you're building up something towards something, you're still limited to, well, I can do X with these things. And so that is, I don't know, that's a little bit to wrap your head around. I also, I guess, struggled a little bit to wrap my head around the fact that you mostly are going to spend your tea every round, and then you primarily are going to rely on between rounds getting more. So that was something that in the beginning I was like, I don't understand how you get tea, and then eventually it kind of clicked. But yeah, I do think that is a positive about it. Like Inquisitors, I didn't know how I felt about in the beginning, but grew to appreciate.
Yeah, like having to balance like getting new cards, which is cool because you get those automatically into your hand that will juice further actions. And I think unlike some games, I feel like you have to do everything.
A little bit.
To some extent, like
main action-wise.
You have to build more tea gardens to get more tea, right? You have to buy at least some more cards because your first cards are junk, and the cards as they come out just have higher action point numbers on them. Forget the extra icons and stuff. Just having bigger numbers on your cards are going to let you do more actions later in the game, and bigger actions because you're going to need bigger action points to build more tea gardens. And you definitely don't have to build all your tea gardens, and you don't have to buy all the cards either, but you have to do some of those things. The other thing that I think you have to do is like the camel trading. There's a ton of points in that, and you got to do some of that.
Well, and it's the main way. I guess the boat and the university, you can get the Emperor tokens. But
and the Emperor tokens are a really big deal because they're a bunch of endgame scoring, and they're more cards that you didn't pay for. I mean, you paid for them, but not in the way you pay for regular cards.
Yeah, and they have endgame scoring on them, and they have usually
a ton of symbols.
Yeah, some sort of extra bonus. They ferment tea, like those cards are very good. So I think, Jake, you only bought one card this game. So I think that let you ride like through the game a little bit without having to buy other cards. So
yeah, I got 3 of those pretty early. And so, I mean, I had a deck of like 7 total cards by the end. So,
but then you can get a lot of that stuff from the river, or you could get a lot of that stuff by going around the circle you're tracking the top. And then you can get a lot of points from that too. And you get points from all of those different areas. Like the last play, I did the circle track quite a bit. I've always tried to do the river, and I never make it very far down the river.
I don't think I've seen anybody end the river. I was one space away.
I did the first game I played.
He did the first game. And then like, we kind of weren't sure that like the tea set things were very good. And I crushed those tonight, and I had my high score with that. And I think those things are cool too, where those give you the bonus actions. And there's a lot of ways to put those discs back on to take the actions again. And they give you things. So all the mini games give you extra stuff. And I think they're all kind of fun to do. This game to me kind of feels more like SETI, where you're trying to just kind of keep going to do a little more stuff. I mean, you could only ever do the 4 actions, but being able to do those 4 actions and do as many of the bonus actions on the cards as possible is like an important goal to have.
Yeah, and even getting to 4 actions can be hard a little bit because you have to have a fermented leaf and 2 regular leaves.
100%.
Yeah,
but I think there's some kind of, I think in this one, more so than Galileo, there's definitely like a point where I feel like you get over some kind of hump and then you're rolling.
Yeah, it's probably tea leaf income.
Which means you can't ignore putting down tea gardens.
Right.
So it's just the order of operations of how you get things done. And it's there's definitely a grand strategy in that, but I think there's a lot of tactics as well, because certain cards might pop up at the right time, or the ability to take a certain spot on the board at the right time, or what can I do right now and what is my best move at the moment.
I got a couple things I want to add. One, I think in response to what Rob had just mentioned, I think that getting your tea houses out is not optional, and I think that it's reiterating that in the fact that doesn't inherently score you any points. And so a lot of times when you're building things, you're getting points. I remember in the first game, I was like, wait, I'm not getting any points for this. But I think that is the game trying to tell you that this is a required thing as a part of it. The other thing that I wanted to mention, I lost my train of thought.
You do get points in the farther out districts for placing them if you go there early enough.
Yep.
But that's it. There's really not a lot of benefit to placing a tea garden in the last round unless there's a very specific reason to do so.
Yeah, but it tends to be 4 points as long as you're doing it on the other side.
Yeah.
I have a con that I'm thinking of now, but my other pro has vanished. Maybe it'll come back to me.
But the tea gardens also give you access to the pots, because that's how you get the choices between the stacks. And towards the end, I was like, I didn't build as many tea gardens. Like, I think I had 2 left on my board. but I was running out of places where I could get the right thing to make my chain of my teapots longer to score points. And so I ended up having to build another one just to make that happen. So it's all interconnected.
Yeah, and the management of your tea leaves, I think, is an important part of this game. Like, which ones you have at the right time. There's some actions that they don't care what level tea leaf it is,
Right.
and there's a bunch of stuff that you have to have like a 3 or 4 or 5 or a 6, especially the Emperor track.
Well, yeah, and if you want to hit the top of the Emperor track that's why I built my last
Right.
one. Because if you want to hit the top of the Emperor track, or you want to buy any of the last round of cards, you have to have a 6 tea leaf. And if you didn't have anything fermented to bump up to a 6, and a lot of times I didn't, because I would spend all my stuff every round, so things wouldn't usually even go up. If you don't have the tea garden in a place that will generate a 6, you can't do any of
Right.
that stuff. And that's happened to me 2 out of my 3 games, is like trying to figure that last part out.
My positive thing came back to me. I think that another thing I like about this, and again, this kind of depends on your perspective, but doing most things well is challenging. Making sure you have the right colored pots out to get the card you want is challenging. Reaching up to get to the amount of points with what you're dealt is challenging. Like, there's always like something you're striving towards that makes it difficult. So I think it's really rewarding in games when you have to have planned that out right to be able to take things and utilize them at your maximum of efficiency. But that's something that's really rewarding for me in this game.
There is not nearly as much as Galileo, but there's a little bit of wobble in the game where you have like a +1 token. There's the
scroll tokens are awesome. Like the wild teapots, the +1.
Double your
bonus action.
Bonus action. The bonus actions let you wobble a little bit. So there's a little bit of wobble, which kind of helps out a little bit, but it's definitely a lot tighter than Galileo.
Yeah, the secondary actions are what help get you to where you need to go a lot of the times, because that's how you can get some extra leaves, or a lot of times you can ferment stuff or get some extra leaves. You need to do something else.
Other pros. All right.
Con time?
I was going to say for the pro that I would say is this game is a little bit like a puzzle. So like playing this game, you're trying to figure out how to kind of fit the pieces of your cards, your board, and the actions themselves together to really kind of have a strong showing. And I'm bad at that, I guess, because I haven't done well either of the times that I've played. But I like that that's a puzzle, and that there's kind of like each element is kind of building on each other, and it all kind of combines into something really cool at the end.
Yeah. Like, you can't really ignore one of the main actions. It's really hard to do that.
But I feel like you really need to focus on a couple of them and do them really, really well.
Right.
And I think what I end up doing is trying to do a little bit of everything, and that isn't enough to kind of fill in the puzzle.
Yeah.
You need to focus on like 1 or 2 of the mini games and just hit them really hard to kind of make sure, because that's where a lot of your points are coming from. Going around the university track is really, really good. I think getting to the top of the Emperor track is pretty decent. At least unlocking the 3 in-game cards, which I didn't do this time. I think getting to the 7 symbols in the cups can be really important. I think you need to do at least one of those things or 2 of those things really well, and that'll help kind of the end game scoring.
Yeah, and I've seen all of them do well too. So I don't think anything is particularly overpowered over anything else. I think they all have their merit, and a lot of it comes down to how many cards you can get to do that strategy, right? Because that card row, it's expensive to jump ahead and get like the cards you need. Like every time, like, oh, I'm gonna do the boat, but like people just always buy the boat stuff. I feel like when it gets cheaper before I do, or I don't notice it right away, or whatever.
Yeah, or when the boat is up and it's cheap enough, like power wise, you might not have the right pots up, because putting pots isn't always great, right? Like, because you don't get a bonus action, you just have the teapots
exactly
in the right colors. Like,
yeah,
it's a good balance. Con town.
Well, we all kind of commented this in the game, but when you're looking at the camel cards, the iconography of how many leaves of tea and how many that's hard to read.
Keep me out of this. I can count tea. I don't
think it's great. I think it could be better. Like, I don't know why they had to overlap them. They could have made them like separate symbols, and it still would have fit on the card.
Or they could have put like a times however many with the leaf.
Yeah.
and then-
Even just like a darker line around each of the green leaves. The green leaves in particular would have helped a little bit.
I mean, other than that, I think the iconography in the game is fairly good.
yeah, I agree.
I guess we didn't really talk about the camel cards, but I think it's cool how you have to be able to do the top and the bottom part of a camel card. And there's 2 choices for each. So you can be like, oh, one, and the top is always how much stuff of them am I going to spend? And the bottom is always how powerful is it going to be? And there's kind of 2 tiers of what you want. I think that's an interesting choice. And you can always kind of mix and match what you want on those cards. And those cards are a huge deal, I think, in the game, no matter what strategy you're playing. You got to do some amount of those.
Yeah, I think it's about getting the Emperor tokens, like, and getting to endgame scoring cards that you're going to go max out.
And it's a bunch of in-game points.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, back to cons. Does anybody like...
I love this game.
Yeah.
I think Tea Garden's really good.
I had another one. I lost to two games at once. It's apparently hard for me.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that, and I don't know how, this isn't a major con, this is a pretty nitpicky thing, but I do think that on the board, when you are building tea gardens or more tea houses in different regions, some of the bonuses you get are just not valuable. I know you can wobble through it, but it depending on when you're able to do it, like especially late in your turn, the things that are having you draw cards are just not valuable. And so there's just times where you can't benefit out of that.
Draw and discard cards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because drawing cards is always great.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
That I didn't say that, but you're absolutely right. The drawing and discarding. But I just feel like
If you're out of cards, that's a problem.
yeah, and I know that you can just be more purposeful with when things happen, but there are things where you are competing against other people, and it may not make the most sense to do those in that order. And I don't know, just sometimes I felt like, for what reason am I choosing the area that I'm choosing? And there are times where it's just like that's not going to help me do anything. And maybe that doesn't actually even matter. But for being a main action, what you directly get out of it isn't always great. You give you the future rewards.
Yeah, when you do the action.
Yes.
But it is great getting 2 tea leaves at the end of the round.
Absolutely.
For whatever levels,
yeah. I'm just saying, like, when you take that action, you're getting, in the immediacy, you're getting less. But I mean, maybe that's what the trade-off is.
And there are a couple extra bonus tiles in the game where everything's used.
No, there was
extras.
a couple
extras.
So that matches or mixes up a little bit.
Yeah, and those are all randomly placed throughout the thing too. So
On the flip side,
you can always pay more to skip those and like go farther, which I've never done before because it's always so expensive. But maybe it's worth skipping. Maybe it's worth when the tea gardens are cheap early on to skip an early step to get farther along the path.
but you imagine paying 5 for a 3 tea garden in the first round.
But the next round, you get to go to the 4 tea
I
garden.
mean, basically, the only way you can make that happen in the first round is
Forfeiting
if
action.
you get both 2s and you use 3 of your 4 cards.
Well,
on
no,
one
you just
action.
got to buy a card. Like you would buy a card that had a bigger number to combo. I mean, it might not be possible to do. Just spitballing.
I think the ones start at 3 power, so at that point you should be able to tag on a couple more than that.
It's probably just a me thing, and it's probably because I've just failed to teach this both times I played this game. And it's right there on your player board, which is a thing I like. You can always buy a ×2 token with tea leaves, and you can always buy
A teapot.
a teapot, which is a huge deal. Like if you don't have the right things, you can spend tea to do that. So it's a pro because it's there on the board, and like it's a good ability to get around not having the right stuff. You can always spend tea. It's a con for me because for whatever reason, I always forget that that's there. And it's right there next to the spend 2 to jump that extra line to go farther down the thing.
Yeah, I never really have a problem spending all my tea, so I don't really think about it that much. Like, every time that I take income, I'm like, I have infinite amount of tea right now. Like, I just have a billion tea, and then by the end of the round, it's like, I wish I had more tea.
I get that.
You never have enough tea.
Never, like, and fermented leaves and the play between the 2 of them. And what levels they are. I don't know. It's good.
All right, well, let's hit final thoughts for Tea Garden. We already went over the Boeing scale, so I'm not going to hit that again. But a 0 Boeing game of Tea Garden is warm purple Gatorade. I think that'd be a gross warm Gatorade.
Yeah, I want to say I don't like when I pick up a mug of tea and it's like not the kind of tea that I think it is, and you take a drink of it, it's like
That's any drink.
Well, yeah, but like specifically for me, tea, like because it can be so varied with the flavors that like my wife drinks some wild teas and you just take a sip and you're like, yeah, that's not what I expected.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And then I think the three boing tea is the one that you drink that brings world peace together. We all sit down at the Zen
Or
garden.
sends you to space.
Yeah, opens your third eye and you're you've solved all the world's problems.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll go first at this time. Tea garden for me, and I guess while we do this, let's give our top three Tomáš Holek games in order. As well. Oh, for the final thought. For me, it's the one that I thought would have been last, and I think it's second. Ultimately, I also thought I would like, the first time I played Galileo, I'm like, I might like this more than SETI. Like, I really, really liked it the first time I played. But Tea Garden, I really liked it. It's a 2.5 boing. Something just clicks with me with it. And like I think there's just a lot of different ways to play it. And it actually, it played just as fast as Galileo did.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is, can't decide. I feel like it's maybe a little more to wrap your head around. I don't know. This scratches that gaming itch a little more for me than Galileo does.
I feel like there's like the main actions are a little bit more. In Galileo, it's basically just observing things.
Yeah.
Like, there's a little bit more like to those here.
Yeah. And so to go back to, I think it's for me, it's SETI, Tea Garden, Galileo.
And I did want to kind of add, you said like how fast this one played. Like we went into round 3. And
like 15 minutes.
It was, it was 13 minutes.
Yeah,
and
the game
round 3 is
starting.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And that was with me getting up every 5 minutes to go sell board games.
Right.
So
yeah.
Anyway.
All right, Jared.
I can go next. I would say that Tea Garden for me is a 3 boing. I just really like this game. I'm bad at it, and that's totally fine. I need to play it more and see if I can figure out the puzzle. But I would say out of the games that I've played, I'd say Tea Garden's probably number 1. I'd say SETI's number 2 and Galileo's number 3 for me. There's just something about the puzzle of Tea Garden that really just kind of makes me happy. And it's tea. So I just like the aesthetic of it as well.
I know I couldn't give it a con, and so you'd think I would have said 3, but something's stopping me from giving it a 3.
It's not like super deep.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But like, a 3 boing game doesn't have to be super deep. Like I can 3 boing Hot Streak. Because I think that game rocks.
Right, but that's a different. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't.
No, there's just some. It doesn't fully resonate into the 3 zone.
Right.
So,
all right, I can go next. I think that I'm the lowest of everybody here on this one. I like it. I think it's an enjoyable game. I do really enjoy the way that you have the flexibility to manipulate your cards and take the different actions, and then the combinations you can take with the secondary actions and the main ones. But I ultimately think because this is a game that you really do need to be kind of involved in everything, that makes it less interesting for me long term than a game that you can just completely zig a different direction and do other things. And so I think that I would get bored of the way that this scores over time. And I really don't think you're going to be competitive unless you get 3 of your samurai cards, and there's only so many options for how those score. So I do think it's a good game. I'm going to give it a 2, but I don't like it as much. So in my ranking would be SETI, Galileo, Tea Garden.
All right. I think I'm going to give this one a 3 just because I hear what you're saying. I haven't played it as much as I played Galileo, but for me, it feels like it has a little bit more to it that I could play it over and over again than Galileo, or at least to not feel like it's kind of the samey. And it might be because the secondary tracks, for me, is what really feels different. Like, where and how you hit those, I think is kind of where I think I scratch my itch on it. So yeah, for me, it's a 3. I would say SETI, Tea Garden, Galileo, and I would say Galileo was teetering on a 3 for me too. So like all 3 of these games I think are really, really fantastic, and especially for these 2 in the under 90 minutes for about every group. Like I couldn't imagine playing this at 4 players in over 90 minutes. So
yeah. So what you're saying is you're looking forward to more designs by Tomáš Holek.
Yes, yeah.
All right. He's got more stuff coming out this year, so
yeah, probably like 7 at Eschenspiel, right? So all right, that'll wrap it up for our two reviews today. So we do like to look back 1 year in the past. This one is Evenfall, and we call that the bumper dump. Rob,
baby, turn around, something, bumper dump, board boys bump
or dump.
Yeah, I cammed it.
Can you want to sing the Evenfall theme song?
Evenfall.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't remember what the actual words to the rest of that is. But
Thoughts return like butterflies.
Yeah, there you go.
On the upside, also, he is rocking out an expansion for all 3 of his games this year. There's one for Tea Garden, there's one for SETI, and there's one for...
I think SETI, the SETI one is just more stuff, right?
Space Agencies is going to have like companies, so like unique player stuff, which is cool, and more aliens.
Okay.
And yeah. Tea Garden, I don't know. It's called Tea Garden Pure. And Galileo is called Luna.
So Evenfall, it was a 7.8 for 1580, is now a 7.6. Bump or dump?
It's got to be a bump.
Jared, up or down? Is it higher or lower?
You played Evenfall.
Not everybody hates that.
Yeah, you have.
Track.
It's the one with like the little
witches,
witches, the little witch helmets, and you put the elders on the right side of your board. You put the other witches on the main board.
Do you remember the score track that sucks really bad?
The worst score track of all time.
I'm going to go dump.
It's a bump. It's 1127. Has anybody played this since then?
I've played it one time since.
Did you sell it?
No, I still have it. I like it. Minus the score track. The score track's terrible. There really isn't one worse, but I don't know. I really enjoy the different ways that you can use the cards, and I'm not discouraged by a big deck of cards in games, which I know some people, that's just kind of a line they don't want to cross.
Me.
2 people at the table.
I am somebody.
These guys.
Yeah.
So, but ironically, SETI has a massive deck of cards, and that's not a problem.
But you never have like 500 of them in your hand at a time.
Okay, but you can use them as currency in this game. I think there's a lot of
Using the currency in SETI.
That's true. I think that there's a lot of really interesting mechanisms in Evenfall, and I do enjoy it quite a bit. So I'd like to play it again sometime soon.
I think I played it again as well, not with I played somebody else's copy, and I mean, I like it. It's interesting. God, come up with a better score tracker.
The score track is the worst.
Like, I don't know how anybody play tested that and was like, yeah, this is good. Like, I don't understand. It's fine. So if you want to give us feedback, you can do so at our Board Game Geek Guild. You can find that through our website. One reply here. It's Christopher Boat. He's in the other room. Bought this one on the cheap and immediately forgot about it. I never remember it's on my shelf. I think it suffered from releasing around the same time as a bunch of bangers. So no response for him. But
well, shows you where it fell.
Yeah,
on the shelf.
Yeah. If Jake wanted to play it again, I'd play it again. But I would also get out like Tic Tacs or something to keep score. I don't know, but anything could be better. A whiteboard.
That would probably be better.
Yeah.
We'll get out Iron Clay.
Like that would be infinitely better.
And we'll just pass them out.
Yeah.
I think you just score every game with Iron Clays.
That would make them better.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Board Boys Podcast, Season 17, Episode 4, the double Tomáš Holek feature of Galileo Galilei and Tea Garden, both by Capstone here in the U.S. We'd like to thank our patrons, BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Timothy Crisco, Shifty Teeth, Jordan Smith, Andre Bosch, Braden Dowdy, Rob Cooper, Richard Lane, Matt Kelly, Portland Gamecraft, Terry Ward, and Jeremy Thoman. Thanks again for everybody for supporting us. You can go to theboardboys.com, get all the links there. You can support us through the Patreon there. You can go to the Discord from there. We've had some new Discord members. That's always cool. You can jump in the BGA channel there and play some BGA games. 5-star reviews on iTunes and Spotify, since I know how to do that now.
You click the star button.
Yeah. And until next time, we hope you like board games.
Boing, boing, boing.
We'd like to thank our patrons, BJ from Andre